Good morning. We are still, today is day 3 of the MagiFest here in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm not actually in the hotel, but actually at a nearby deli, and I would recommend this also. Like in future years, you guys might think about this, because the line always seems to be too long down there at the restaurant, and I like a good bagel sandwich for breakfast, and when Dunkin' Donuts is not available, so we don't have a Dunkin' right around here. But I thought I would kind of recap with a couple of guys that I ran into over here then, too, to kind of see what you guys thought so far of the show. Edmund Apperson?
Yes.
Correct? That? Yes. And then also Jeff Kowalk. Got it? Okay, perfect. Let me ask you first, Jeff, that as far as like yesterday's activities, what, first of all, programs did you take as far as the university courses go?
Sure. I did Ken Weber's Maximum Entertainment first, and then I stepped across the hall to Peter McCabe's Scripting Magic.
You were in the same series I was. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed Pete's because it was almost like a workshop. Yeah, it was almost like a workshop, and to me, there was an incredible amount of value to that, to sit there and work out scripts and how you should work on your tricks and put that in context with your character. And frankly, it was great for an hour. I feel like I got to go back home and do it again with everything we did there in the.
But we learned how to do it.
Exactly. And I thought it was important, the 60-second timer, to keep yourself making progress. So learned a lot from his.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's exactly right. I did like the fact that you were forced into creating something quickly rather than just kind of sitting and waiting, and then you kind of get bored and you drift off into something. But you have a time limit. I like that.
And that's what happens to me, right? We all sit around and we think, well, I'd like to improve this, and you sit there and then you think, well, I wonder if I got an email, and check your phone, and and you end up losing steam. So the 60-second thing, I think, was a great technique to make progress.
Yeah, no question. What courses did you take? Or did you say the same thing, Edmund?
I took the exact same courses, only in reverse from him. So I did Peter McCabe first, and then Ken Weber's second. And they were both fantastic. But I'm along with Jeff. I thought Peter McCabe's was great. The way that he structured the whole thing and had us doing all of that was fantastic. And I will use that when I get home to begin to work on stuff that I'm working on.
So you got the genesis of an idea for a new routine or a new way of presenting.
A new way of presenting, for sure. And the thought of just literally working everything out and thinking about those adjectives that describe who you are to help you create your character, to then take those things about your character and put them into the tricks that you do. So picking your material properly and then scripting it. I thought that was all just great information.
I have had a lot of people on the podcast in the past who have talked about character development, because people are always asking me about, well, how do you develop a character? Well, you are who you are. You need to know who you are, first of all. Look introspectively, I guess, first of all. But a lot of young people haven't developed that personality or maturity level yet at some point. But you kind of need to know, well, who do you want to be? So anyhow, he had, just a lot of excellent material that he was talking about.
Absolutely. And for me, I have a specific character, so it just helped me dive a little deeper into it and think about how I'm going to be more choiceful when I get back home working on my material.
Yeah. Now, then the afternoon, I actually was recording a couple of episodes for some upcoming shows, so I didn't get to attend like the sessions. Did you guys see the sessions with Bernardo Sidlacek and some others, guys? So, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the sessions.
Do you remember, Edmund? I mean, it didn't list the names on the program there necessarily, because they were kind of like I talked to Bernardo, and he said, yeah, they just told me a few minutes ago I'm on, so right. I'm going to have to come up with something. So
Bernardo was fantastic. I have to tell you that one of the performers here at the show that I've liked the most is Rachel Wax. I think we need more women in magic, and it was fantastic. She was great. Her performance was tight, concise, well done. And
what did she do? Close up, or was it stage?
She did a stage show, but she took some things that are classics and did them in a very unique way. So she did Professor's Nightmare, but with charging cables for your iPhone. She did a book test that was great, but her whole character, her whole demeanor. If she had never done one trick, I would have been entertained by the show that she put on. Very Lucy Darling-esque. And if that's the future of women's magic, I want to see more of it.
It sounds pretty exciting. Yeah. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the others, because Rachel Wax obviously was, everybody I think really enjoyed that performance.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they actually had Pete McCabe come back on, for those who weren't at his session, but he talked more about comedy and the different types of comedy that you can work on to insert into your act, creating that tension or that moment where you're going to get the laughter. he walked through a bunch of, I thought, really practical examples from old shows and jokes that he had heard that help you determine how you're going to insert some comedy into yours. So
personally, I love those kinds of TED Talk type of short things because it highlights some acts and people, personalities and everything, I think, and then it can move on to somebody else. And you may not like one, or you may like one better than the other or whatever, but you get to learn to see a variety and hear things also.
No, it was really good. I don't do comedy per se. I like to be a good time Charlie in my show, but I did find a lot of nuggets there for figuring out what kinds of things to put in, whether it's inward comedy or outward comedy, negative or positive. So I thought that was really good.
And so then later in the afternoon, let's see, it was Jason Ledani, the next lecturer. I think you got your program there, Andy?
It was Dennis Baer, actually, the show.
I missed that one.
Yeah, and I did too, because I was like you. I was trying to work on some content and stuff, so I missed it. And I hate that I did, because Dennis, I've heard, awesome. Yeah, and I've seen some clips of him, and also saw him somewhere else before, but he's an amazing performer.
I've seen him at the 4F convention, and know him personally. I've seen him perform and lecture, and so it's another reason. It's like, yeah, I'd like to see him, but I got something else to do. How about you, Edmund? Did you see him? Or?
I saw him, and his style was fantastic. His deadpan humor. He's got this very dry wit about him. But I don't know how anybody drinks a stein of beer all at one time and then continues to be able to perform in the way that he does. Beer and magic do not work well for me.
You know, one of the funny things, too, when if you ask him for his business card, it's a beer coaster. It's pretty cool. Speaking of beer, I'm going to be having coming up in a couple of weeks for an episode with Dominic James. Dom James, if you ever watch America's Got Talent, he was the guy who did the beer productions.
Yes.
Yeah, and he moved on up, pretty far, I guess. He was the first Australian to move that far on America's Got Talent. But and he's also been with the Illusionists. But anyhow, he's going to be on an upcoming episode. Just kind of tip that a little bit. I talked with him from Australia a couple of weeks ago, so I got that ready. It's in the can. Then was Jason Ledani.
Right, but I can tell you right now that we both have seen Jason twice in the last 2 years, and so we went to the dealer room and spent some time. Yeah. But I'll jump ahead because I can't tell you anything about the Jason Ledani moment. Yeah. But the Darwin Ortiz and Friends, I thought, was a very touching tribute. Nice to see people from around the world come together by video if they couldn't be here to say some very nice things about Darwin, his books. The interview with Josh and Andy I thought was interesting to get to hear from him how he got started and what he was doing and why he wrote books and just some of those inside questions that we all kind of want to know. Well,
there were so many people I had talked with who had said, I came here to see Danny. The Ortiz, Darwin Ortiz. I'm sure he gets that all the time mixed up. But Darwin has been inspirational to so many people. I mean, I have done his Gemini Queens. What was that? Like for years. Everybody has probably some bit of Darwin in them, I think. And he has been influential and inspirational to a generation of magicians, and will continue, as Josh said, probably for the next century with the Strong Magic book that he had.
And Designing Miracles as well.
Yep.
It's a great book.
Exactly. It doesn't look like he's in really good health, though, at this point.
He looked very frail to me, which I hope that's not the case. He just appeared to be a little frail there at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it could be that there's a lot of emotional pressure, on him, as you would imagine. Edmund? Any comment on that?
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I don't have his email address, but I do want to know, when is that book coming out? Is it next week that you've got the book coming out? The new one? That would be great. Thank you.
Inside joke there. Yeah. So then, let's see, we took a dinner break and then came back for, was it Nick's show next?
Yeah, Nick DeFott's show. Yeah, so
he was a fill-in.
Yeah, he was. So apparently he got the call about 20 hours before, so he did part of his show. And I've seen his show a couple times. Always funny. He's a very clever young performer, filling in for Mac King, so definitely rising on the comedy scene, especially for comedy magic. There are only so many, I feel like, of the young comedy magicians anymore. There used to be, I think, a lot more of them.
Well, it's because you had the comedy circuit where the kids, the young people could, a little older, could actually go around and kind of hone their skills, basically.
Right, the comedy clubs. And Matt King actually talked about that in one of the interviews. Might have been on your show or others, but talked about that's where he grew up, and now it's not quite the same that it used to be. So Nick is one of those young, rare talents that's doing comedy magic as a living.
He is, and I thought also that this was one of those not suitable for work kind of a thing. It was a comedy club, late night kind of a thing, but it was I thought funny and appropriate, and it was Nick's style perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Edmund?
I thought he was incredibly hilarious. Every time I see him, I can't help but think, though, Drew Carey when he was about 25.
A lot skinnier.
Yeah, a lot skinnier for sure.
Or maybe 12.
Yeah, but he was hilarious. He had me rolling in the aisles, and you're right, for the time of night, as if it was a nightclub type show, I can see it being very appropriate for that, and it was good, very good.
Yeah. So we got one more day, one full day here today, and let's see. I know that David Gerard had COVID, so he couldn't make it, which is the reason that Nick came in. So I'm wondering where we have that workshop, and I'm supposed to have one with David Gerard. Who's filling in for that?
I heard that Michael Kent will be filling in, talking about still the same topic as what I heard, marketing magic, but I don't know that for a fact. I'll find out because I'm signed up for that. I think so. I was pretty excited to hear from David Gerard. I've heard so much about his abilities in marketing, but I'll be equally as excited, I guess, to hear what Michael has to say.
I bet you've got Darwin Ortiz as your other one, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, you and I, we're twins. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm doing Darwin's Designing Miracles, and then I'm doing Bernardo Sedlacek's Thoughtful Card Magic.
He is one creative guy. Again, I would recommend those who are listening to this and don't know who Bernardo is, go back and listen to that. I'd probably say it's easily in the top 20, maybe even the top 10 to 15 of my all-time podcast episodes, because he is just one of these thinkers. I put him on a level that's kind of like with Armando Lucero and with Garrett Thomas and with Brad Henderson, of some people I've talked with, that he just has such great ideas. He thinks... When you talk about out of the box, I mean, there's not even a box for him to have started in, so he's so far out.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely comes from that Brazilian Spanish style of magic. There's no doubt. You can see that in his influence, but his magic is truly thoughtful. I have one of the pieces that he does that's his version of an invisible deck, where all of the cards end up blank except for the card that was selected, and they're laid out on the table. They're not, the double back kind of stuff. Really just strong, well thought out magic that he does. So I'm looking forward to seeing what his creative process is.
Yeah. It's just that I've spent a lot of time, and he's stayed at my house. We spent a lot. Matter of fact, I might show you a trick later that he taught me. But I have spent time. That's why, again, with the workshop, you can't see everything. But I really like that format. What are your thoughts on the workshop formats?
I've always enjoyed it. I think it's kind of reminiscent of Magic Live and the way they do their class structure. So I think it's a good thing to do, and I think you could have a whole convention set around that kind of thing. David Sandy used to do the workshops. So very, very similar style. I love it.
Yeah. I hope they keep it, because to me, I'm used to conventions where you have to make a choice on a couple different classes, and you choose what's interesting to you. And so then everybody can kind of customize and tailor their experience at the convention to a certain extent. And then you have the bigger sessions where everybody's together. So I hope that they'll keep that format and continue to offer choices if you're into the kind of the magic theory side, like it sounds like we are, or if you just want to learn more card tricks or how to do that, you can go meet.
At our age, you're nowhere near my age, but when you're older, I think I believe we know enough tricks. We need to know more about how to present them and what the theory behind them, and that's what I think makes those things tick that the audience really wants to see. When you're young, or I say young, in magic at least, you're getting interested in magic for the first time, you're carrying things in your pockets, you want to show everybody it's the mystery, it's the trick, fooling somebody at first, until you finally realize, no, it's you, it's the personality, it's the act, it's the that entertains.
It's the connection with people, right? That you're that you're connecting with people through sharing something about yourself or something interesting about the world. And
so are you going to sign up for next year?
Absolutely, yeah. This is I think my 7th in a row. This is my first convention I ever attended, and once I started signing up, I haven't missed one since then.
Wow. How about you, Evan?
Absolutely.
I mean, you go to a lot of conventions.
I go to a lot of conventions, so absolutely I will be here next year. So, for sure.
Good. Well, I'll see you guys there, as well as anywhere else. You going down the road? You going to be at Magic Live or other things?
I'm doing the retreat with the Vanishing Ink guys that's going on in April, so unfortunately I won't make Magic Live this year, but the next one after that will be Tricks in Charlotte, which is where I think I saw you last.
Yep, and I'll be there again. I was so impressed. I was first time, but not my last.
Yeah, I want to get back to tricks. I wasn't able to make it this last year because of the timing with MagiFest being moved to September and then November. I did Abbott's in I did Abbott's in August, then September was this, and so I couldn't make tricks. But I want to get back to tricks. I'm from Greenville, so get back to the Carolinas. That's a great.
That might have been where I saw you. Was at Colon this year?
Yes, we saw each other a couple times this year, taking the same classes everywhere we go. Right?
Yeah, we may be brothers from another mother somewhere.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you guys very much, and I appreciate you kind of helping to recap yesterday and give a little color background over there. So for the magic word, here what's the name of this restaurant again? I want to tell Broad Street Deli or something like that, I believe. Metro Deli. It's not on the cup. Anyhow, so for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Edmund Apperson and Jeff Kowalk, Scotty. The Tricks Convention, who had given me a Dunkin' Donuts. He said, you probably haven't had your Dunkin' Donuts yet today. He brought me a sack, and he gave me a $20 gift certificate.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's like, I listen.
One of the better donations.
He really does listen. So we're here then on the final day, third day, and we've already had our morning activities. We get to choose 2 out of 3 things, and I'm here with John Wolf and Steve Chesney. First of all, John, hello.
Good morning.
And also Steve Chesney.
Hey, guys.
And so you might, if you go to Colon to the Abbott's Get-Together, have seen Steve working backstage. May not have seen him because he is backstage, but he's been part of the crew. How many years?
I think part of the crew 25 years now or more. It's all a blur. I've been going to Abbott's for like 35 years or more. Yeah. But I mean, it's my home away from home, and there's nothing else like it. I know everybody there, and what's killing me, is I don't know if it's a new group here, but I only know a handful of people. It's very strange.
It is funny you mention that because I think it's a younger group that Josh and Andy have here with Vanishing. I'm looking around. Look, there are 3 kids over there that are under 12, it looks like. Yeah. And that's not the abnormal. I mean, there are a lot of young people who are here. They really encourage that.
Yes. No, they have the youth group, and that's a great thing. I mean, that's the only way our art is going to survive.
Right. And most conventions are people who the average age is dead,
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm in the middle now, which is killing me. Oh, my God. I used to be the young punk. It was like the young guy in spandex doing magic tricks. So.
You're the old guy in spandex.
Well, leather. I go with the leather now, so it's less forgiving.
So John, what classes did you take yesterday and today as far as the university?
So I will have to go to my cheat sheet, but I just came out of Darwin's presentation, and I like the theory. I know enough tricks.
You have his books?
Yes, and wonderful. By the way, I want to mention about Abbott's. That was my first convention 45 years ago at one of the Abbott's get-togethers, and what a great experience that was for a young kid at that time. So I was one of those youths. But the university breakouts here, I think, are a great idea. It would be wonderful if they could continue those in the future, but with a smaller audience, it makes it feasible. Josh was saying that with the bigger crew, it's going to be tough to do that in the future. But the presentations, designing magic, really just wonderful presentations to help us refine how we think about our presentations, because the presentations are everything.
I've always said we know enough tricks. We need to know how to present them better.
David Hyra did a program, and if you've never listened to his lecture, you should. But he encourages us, take those old things out and perform them. He said we have all these opportunities to do magic, but we don't do them. And he said, we're cheating spectators out of the chance to perhaps see the only live magician they'll ever see in their life.
I'm glad you mentioned that because on Penguin, I think his has consistently been the one that has the most 5 stars of any of the rest of the lectures on Penguin, and is highly recommended.
And he's also very easy to be in touch with. I first heard his lecture down at the Daytona Magic Festival, and since then have been in touch with him several times, and he's very, very prompt to respond.
He's one of my best friends. In fact, when my wife passed, he was one of the people who spoke at my wife's funeral. Too.
Now, I know Dave Hyra from Lisle, Illinois. We went to the same high school. I lived in Lisle for a number of years when I was a kid.
I had a girlfriend from Lisle.
Yeah, and he was in the musicals. Actually, I was in the musicals too, which is ridiculous. But I remember David was in Bye Bye Birdie, and I think I was in Annie Get Your Gun, if you could believe that, which is very embarrassing now that I mention it.
Did you play Annie?
I remember I was just one of the kids doing all the dancing with the canes and crazy stuff. Oh my God.
But we really need to have that because
yeah.
I think it's important that magicians have a background in some sort of theater, dance, or whatever,
Yeah, no, it was pretty wild, but I mean, that's what, that's what we had back then. It was musicals, and I just wanted to be on the stage, and took off from there.
So what university classes have you taken that you really got the most out of here so far?
I'm real horrible with names, but I mean, the dude that was just on stage, I think he's from Brazil.
Oh, that was Bernardo Sedlicek.
Yeah, he's hilarious. He kind of reminds me of a cross between Danny D. Ortiz and Doug Henning. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the right guy with the... Okay. And he doesn't have an accent. He's killing me. He's from Brazil. He doesn't have an accent, does he? No.
Yeah, I think he does.
He does?
Yeah.
I didn't notice. He speaks English very well.
He does.
Amazing dude. I mean, he's got a good presentation and very likable. I mean, that's what's key.
I had him on one of my episodes. I had him on a lecture tour some time ago, and he stayed at my house, and we chatted. So if you have not heard the episode, I recommend that. I was telling someone earlier this morning, it is one of my top 20 of the episodes that I have over the 650 episodes that I recommend people should go back and listen to, actually. So there you go.
Yeah, that's great. I listen to everything.
I know you do.
On my walks. I walk like 4 miles a day, except when it's this cold out. Oh, my God, this winter is killing me.
It's 10 today, right now, where we are.
Is what?
It's 10 degrees right now.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Just looked at my phone. It's 10 degrees.
Well, I have to say, though, there is a Norwegian saying you should remember. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing.
No, I got my jacket. I got a big, heavy jacket. We're going to go grab some lunch over at the O Pizza, probably. Oh, my God. Anything within walking distance is fine. Oh, God.
There's a place around the corner that's a deli where I've gone the last couple of mornings. And, in fact, apparently a lot of the magicians have been going over there and having some bagels. They're usually closed on Saturday, Sunday, but they said we're going to be open on Saturday. They'll be open today just because they knew that we were going over there and helping them. So it was just kind of around the corner, go to Starbucks and make a ride around over there.
I did sneak out yesterday and go. We went to Skyline Chili.
Without me again. I'm planning on going there hopefully tonight.
I couldn't find you.
You got my number.
Okay. Well, good point. I know you're busy, but...
So tell me, what about other kinds of things? I'm going to John, let me ask you, aside from the workshops, I mean, you had Thursday evening, with Garrett Thomas, and of course opening up with Jason England when we had the other show. Then last night with Dick DeFott, and some other different things have been happening. What else has kind of been highlights for you at the convention here?
I really love the fact that we can sit around a table with our peers and workshop and watch a lot of talented people.
I've seen you at these tables, especially with these young guys.
Well, yeah, and you get such a thrill because they have such enthusiasm, so much great ideas. There was a young man last night who was showing us a cups and balls routine, and just when you think there's nothing new under the sun for cups and balls, he's doing a color-changing ball routine with the cups and balls, and we were all just like, wow, this is so much fun to watch. But that ability, and there's just as much talent sitting at these tables as there are up on those lecture podiums.
So you're saying a highlight is really not one of the scheduled activities, but just part of the sessioning?
Well, it's both.
Yeah,
and
okay.
say they nicely complement each other because you'll come out of a session and you start sitting around with your peers, and the topic might be what we've just heard, but then you start segueing into these other presentations and refining what you're doing.
Both Josh and Andy have set this up in order to encourage these kinds of sessions, to the point where I remember talking to Josh a few years ago, and he said, I don't like that people don't register for the convention but just come to the lobby to hang out in session, because he's saying, although you're not paying for it, it really is part of the experience of the MagiFest. And they've even called the convention in England the session, because that's what they do,
And the refinements that you can create to what you're doing, even though it's other magicians that you're playing to, and everybody says, well, always look at your magic from the layman audience standpoint. Some of the refinements in method are invaluable that you can only learn sitting around these tables.
Yep. Well, that's right. And to your point, that's why I always encourage people to attend these conventions, because you can stay home online and socialize as much as you want through whatever, and you can watch the videos of the newest trick by just hitting play or, whatever's out there. However, what you just said then, John, as far as the one-on-one and sitting down and enjoying this, it is an experience that you don't get through online digital socializing.
The first evening here, I was sitting at a table reading a book, and a man came up when we sat down and started chatting, and we chatted for about an hour. And we found out we had all this stuff in common, and we're just talking as two friends. And as he stands up to leave, his name tag says Apollo. And I'm like, oh, this is Apollo Robbins. And I'm thinking, I've just been chatting with this man and had no idea who it was.
I did that with Darren Brown. I didn't know until he walked away. It's like, oh, I've been talking to Darren for the last 15 minutes. So, go ahead.
Well, pretty wild. No, the thing is just to be with people in person. There's nothing better, and sharing our magic and our time and our talent.
And I like the way they are complying with CDC guidelines, and the hotel is requiring masks and all the rest of that. As Josh had said, when we had the one in September, it was not a super spreader event. In fact, there were no cases afterwards, and so I know a lot of people had been freaked out about that, and probably who may not have attended because they were concerned about that. And I don't have that concern because of they try to do social distancing. There's more room between the seats than normal, which I kind of like, for most conventions anyhow. But aside from that, what about other kinds of things that, Steve, you've seen outside of sessioning or anything?
Well, I'm here basically for the food,
I know. I love you, man. I had a wonderful dinner last night.
The dealer's room is always fun to see what's new. A lot of these names are new to me. I'm not really a close-up guy. I used to do a lot of restaurant work, but all that went out the window. I haven't got my restaurant work back, so I haven't been doing walk-around or close-up.
You first started, when I say first, you were doing stage shows on the Bozo the Clown show way back when. So were you doing close-up after that at the restaurants then?
You know what's funny? I started doing stage magic, my illusions, all when I was a teenager. That's when that all got started. I only started doing close-up. I would dabble with it at home and did it for my friends and family, but I never did it for, work. It only came later. My buddy Paul Lee, who was in Chicago. I was
about to bring up his name.
Yeah. No, he begged me to fill in for him at one of the restaurants. Like, we used to work like Buffalo Wild Wings, Max and Irma's. What else did we have? There was a number of different restaurants, but Paul was working at a Buffalo Wild Wings, and he needed to fill in. And he goes, you gotta fill in for me. And I'm like, well, I don't do that kind of stuff, But I later learned you only need like 3 or 4 tricks to get going. And then, later then he begged me to do balloons, and I had to learn balloons. And I never did any of that stuff. But, work is work, and we live in the Chicago area.
To be better. Paul was a great guy.
Yeah, no, he was my buddy. We were best friends. And, but yeah, he was... He got me into the restaurant work, and I was doing 3 restaurants a week along with my other shows. So, and I had fill-ins too, because, I couldn't always be there. But it was part of my, it's nice because it rounded everything off. Nothing's better than doing close-up magic and being up close and personal with people because the magic is right there in their hands. Whereas stage magic is a different animal, and we're doing an illusion show. That's just a whole big... It's a spectacle. I look at it as like if I'm having fun on stage, they're having fun on stage. We throw Twinkies in the audience, just madness. But there is a method to that madness. You know why?
What?
You go to the grocery store and you pass by the Twinkie display. Who do you think of? Me.
That's a good point. We just attended the branding and marketing thing. I did this afternoon. David Gerarber's supposed to be doing that, and due to COVID, he couldn't make it. And so another guy, Michael Kent, I think, was the one who filled in, and he was talking about that. And he was talking about branding as far as even down to the font that you're using for your email or for your promotional material. And, of course, to have new photos and taken on a regular basis to keep them updated. Like, I've got a beard, and if you didn't have a beard, that you should do that, et cetera, et cetera. But, if you have music, or like you say, Twinkies, you have something, so when people see that, hear that, or smell that, it's like, oh, that was John Wolfe. I remember when he did such and such, or so.
They remember me by name.
Yeah.
And I know it's...
They remember Chesaday.
It's silly. Yes, it's silly, but people remember that stuff. I get pictures from people that are like In-N-Out Burger. Oh, that kill me because they know how much I love it.
I know.
But,
I love to post those when you're not with me.
No, but you're not the only one. Sharp Pendragon just sent me a picture of her having In-N-Out Burger, and I'm like, oh, you're killing me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Michael Trix does it to me. Oh my God, everybody.
Well, it's interesting also, I was going to say, as far as the confluence of people who are coming here, you're a full-time working professional. John, you're a full-time attorney. Are you a judge or just
Just an attorney.
Just, yeah.
Yes.
And what kind of law, particularly?
I do estate planning, estate administration, and an elder law. So folks that have a parent or spouse looking at nursing home care, we work with them to try to preserve assets.
And do you perform? You don't perform for your clients, I'm assuming.
No, I do a lot of stand-up banquet shows.
For what kind of clients?
They can be service clubs, they can be corporations, they could be a doctor's office that's having a Christmas party, things of that nature. But I started out, it was funny you were talking about the restaurant work. When I was the young teenager, I did table hopping. And when I think of the impractical things that I used to do a rice bowl routine, but with thimbles and salt. And talk about a slow reset for those. But back then, I didn't have the interaction with other magicians. And it's just funny how the kids today, they have such a wealth of resources to be able to... Exactly. I mean, everything was out of a book. And that Abbott's catalog was my wish book that I spent days and hours going through. But it was quite a learning curve.
Yeah. So are both of you signed up and going to come next year?
I definitely want to come next year. It all depends on court schedules. I was able to get here at the last minute because of a change on Monday that occurred in a schedule that allowed me to get away and come here. So I did a late registration, which is why I have the handwritten ID tag, not the printed.
Steve, coming next year?
There you go. I've been coming for like 30 years here, too. I only missed it in September just because of how everything was. Well, we were supposed to go to Disney, and that was killing me, too.
You and Michael Trix.
Well, we were. Oh, it's just got messed up, but but we're here now, and I'm just looking at the dates now. It looks like January 26th through the 28th of 2023, if you can believe that. Oh my God! Oh my God! The future is now. Yeah. Oh my God! Well, hopefully things will be a little more normal.
Oh, we hope so. Back to the way they were pre-COVID.
The masks, the this, the that.
But there's still conventions going on this year, and I know, John, you're going to be going to Magic Live, isn't that right?
Not Magic Live this year, no. But I did go to Trix.
Yeah.
We saw you there, and that was also another fun convention because of the intimacy, the breakout times that you had.
Yeah.
And I may be going down to the Daytona convention in the late fall.
Okay. Steve, what else aside from Colin are you going to be going to?
Well, the Abbott's Magic Convention. That's the first week of August. I was just going to look up the date, but it's the first week of August.
It's on the magicwordpodcast.com. Oh, yeah, I got a convention guide there.
Good. Yeah, no, I would suggest if you haven't been to Abbott's, that's the place to go. It's in the middle of Amish country, the fresh air.
Have you bought your cemetery plot there yet?
No, but it has crossed my mind because I'd get a lot more visitors there than where my family is.
That's what I've decided to do. I've already got my lot right next to Walter Blaney.
There you go. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. It's just home away from home, and there's nothing like the fresh air, the people. It's like going back in time. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just a little town.
It's like Mayberry, RFD,
yes.
like you always.
Yes, yeah. No, Greg always says like Vegas comes to Mayberry, and but yeah, it's just so very relaxing. I mean, we work long days because I'm part of the stage crew, and we've performed there a number of times, of course. But there's nothing else like it.
Nope,
you know,
there's not.
It's just
it is family.
I mean, you can camp. You can find a room at somebody's home, or you can stay at a regular hotel, but you got to go about 20 minutes out of the way to Sturgis or Coldwater. So,
and there are only a limited number of restaurants around there, so everyone's always running into each other.
Yeah. Oh, 5-star pizza. That's where you got to go for your pizza there in town.
Or Curly's for hamburger and martini.
Best pizza in town. Best pizza. Well, there's no other pizza in town.
Carl Thornton has the best. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great time, and like I said, I've known many of these people for decades. You know, I mean, these are friends. As close as family.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good people, just like you.
Well,
so
thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
And you planning on coming maybe in the future?
I would love to. I have a lot of fond memories of my first Abbott's get-together. I bought my first 4 doves. I went through a dove phase at
didn't we all?
And I remember, I think, is it the Legion that was one of the hangouts?
It still is.
Yeah. And when you were mentioning the cemetery, if I had my wishes, I'd love to be buried next to Carol Fox, because I've done a lot of his material, and he's quite the legend. And a lot of the kids nowadays, you take one of his routines and they think it's something brand new, and they're like, where did you download that from?
And it's so easy and organic also to make such sense.
Yes, he had that theory, method shouldn't be what drives it, kind of like Animan. Get to the magic.
Yeah, true enough. Guys, thank you very much. Always good to catch up with you, and thanks for also giving a little kind of recap of what the convention's like to kind of give. You can kind of hear where we are right now at the hubbub in the background over here, because there are some sessions going on. It's like 12:40 right now, so timing-wise. And 12 hours from now at 12:40 a.m., it will probably be a lot more buzzing, because they'll be up until 4 in the morning or until dawn, I'm sure. I was just in the elevator with a couple of young guys, and I said, so how late were you up? I said, well, I was up till 3. Another guy said 4. So I remember those days.
Yeah, I remember them too. Mr. Rockstar now goes to bed at 11, so I'm an old man.
There we go. Thanks a lot. Steve Chesaday, John Wolf, this is Scotty out. We are now in the dealer's room. It's kind of the last evening, and everybody's kind of starting to wrap up here on this third day. And we've had a lot of dealers. I know some dealers actually didn't show up or had to cancel because of COVID reasons and whatever. But one that I knew was going to be here is Tannen's, and I've got Adam Blumenthal with me then right now. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Scott. How are you?
Fantastic. So glad that you made it. And how has this been for you guys?
It's been a lot of fun. We haven't been in a dealer's room since Magic Live in 2019, I think was the last one. So it was a pleasure to get back in front of an audience.
Did you bring any of your mystery boxes with you here?
We did not bring mystery boxes. We had to pack a little bit lighter than we do for Vegas. But we brought a great assortment of books and lovely handmade props, as well as some of the most popular current close-up effects.
Are you going to be bringing some boxes, I assume, for Magic Live in a couple of months?
For Magic Live, we will be, yes. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So what have been some of the most popular sellers for Tannen's here at this convention?
Well, a few months ago, we published a new manuscript by Andy Nyman. It's a headline prediction. And one of the most interesting and important things about it is that it's fully fleshed out from the perspective of, as he says, a warrior. Andy's a great warrior, and it's a piece that he's done all his life professionally. And if you don't know Andy, he is, aside from just being a fantastic performer and creator, he's also Darren Brown's head writer. So you have a script that is of that quality that is...
He's a professional actor, too.
Absolutely. And script that's used for all phases of the routine. It's a headline prediction, so there's some work involved pre-show. And you're not pre-showing a spectator, but you have things you need to take care of. And all of that is spelled out into fine detail, and it's really wonderful.
And what's the name of the book?
Foreseen.
And what else? Looks like you had some other kind of cool objects over here.
The Wonder Needle, sort of the opposite end of the spectrum, is a really lovely little close-up trick with a handkerchief, a sewing needle, and a spool of thread. And the needle penetrates off the thread. Audience threads it, no switches. It's a really kind of baffling little pocket piece.
When you sell things, you have a lot of times, in New York City, you have a lot of magicians and people bring in some ideas and say, Adam, what do you think about this? Do you think this is something that will sell? And do you have some exclusives of things from time to time?
We do. We have a bunch of exclusives, Foreseen obviously being our latest. And then a lot of things that we produce like that, and then other things that we'll say, hey, you've done a lovely job already making this, but we'd be honored if we could be the ones to offer it to our customers. And so we'll buy exclusives like that. Another thing, again, in the print world, often rarely that simple, is a new book of card magic by the publisher and creator of the Neat Review journals. The Neat Reviews and the book are currently in the U.S. exclusively with us.
Again, you don't really attend a lot of conventions necessarily. I know it's usually this one and Magic Live, and I go to a lot, but I don't often see you. Are there any other conventions you're planning to attend this year? If things continue to go the way they are, I guess, as far as hopefully getting out of this Omicron mess.
Typically we don't, because we're so busy with the day-to-day of the retail store and our customers in the city, and also the mail order. But it's nice to get in front of people, in a broader range, so we're definitely going to consider it more in the future. We tend to pack and travel very heavy, which makes it sometimes challenging to get to smaller conventions, but it's something we would look forward to doing more of.
Great. Adam, thank you very much. Appreciate it very much. The Magic Word Podcast. That was Adam Blumenthal. Scotty out. So while we're standing here at the Tannen's booth, that ran into one of the performers and someone who has been a longtime attendee of the MagiFest and one of the favorites and someone who has been on the bill for a long time. People have been expecting to see him because it's Nick DeFat.
Last minute.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Scott. How are you doing?
Fantastic, thank you. So, it was a last-minute thing. They called you like 24 hours because since David Gerard couldn't make it, and it's like, let's get Nick.
Yeah, thought I'd come in. I was driving to fill in at the SAM, and as my Uber pulled up to the hotel, they called about doing this. So it all kind of fell into place. But good to see people. Good, it was a fun show. Yeah. For being super last minute, super fun.
I'm sure you got a lot of great comments because, it was a wonderful show. It's funny as normally.
Thank you. Thanks. It was fun. Yeah, can't complain.
Did you? You had a couple of things last night. You said, "Well, what the heck? I'm going to do this kind of new." Did you have a couple of things you were working on last night that was new, or
I think they were mostly nothing really new. Mostly old stuff that I like. The Canned of Khalif thing I haven't done since like Abbott's in 2016 or something. I never. I don't really know if there's anything new. I did a couple lecture things that I normally don't do in the show, but yeah.
One thing that happened last night that I'm sure happens frequently, and that is where the gentleman you called up already had a hearing aid.
No, he had been up on stage with me before. He didn't have a hearing aid.
Okay.
So we skipped that joke in a very open manner.
Because a lot of people who had seen you before knew the gag.
Well, he said, last time he gave me a hearing aid, and so that kind of squashed the whole bit. But yeah,
you had a callback.
Super fun. Yeah.
So what other conventions are you planning on attending, or particularly that you have been booked for the balance of the year?
Are there more? Is that what you're asking?
Well, there'll be other conventions, but my point is, which ones have
live for sure?
Yep. Are you going to be any part of this, or is that a surprise?
I think that I don't know under contract if I can say, but I have a new book coming out at Magic Live, so that I can talk about.
Okay. Because you only had just a few copies of Funny, which is
that's gone now. Yeah, I did 2 or 3 printings of that. Now it's finally my closet is empty. So.
So you've come out of the closet with everything that you've got, basically.
Yeah, in life and in books, and can't complain.
Yeah, so because I've got a copy of that. In fact, I think I bought the last of what some dealer had.
Oh, funny.
Because there were some other people I mentioned on the Magic Word Podcast. I said, look, I've got the last of it. Wants them.
Oh, wow.
I'm not making a profit. Sure. I'm just selling them to you, and including postage. And I actually paid for the postage, and so I got rid of those to try and sell.
Awesome.
Hype you a little bit then.
Thanks.
Too.
Yeah, I think the only person that might have them is like Marietta, I think, but I don't know.
Well, Chris Penner was, of course, the one who was touting those notes and saying you've got to get funny, and so I did, and I got them all. And I think Marietta was the one who had them, and I got all that he had left at the time. Yeah.
Cool.
So what's the next book then, Nick? It's going to be coming out?
It'll be called Offbeat through Squash Publishing. So it's like 16 routines, 9 essays.
Is it going to be saddle stitched, or is it going to be stapled or hardcover?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So
big time.
Yeah, spending more money. Can't wait. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Do you know what the retail is going to be on that?
55, 60, something like that. But it's all shot on medium format film. Like all the photos are just ridiculous. All the illustrations are done by the same guy that does my posters. If you've seen that, like mid-century modern stuff that I've been using a lot now, so super fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, have you got anything else like? Not working comedy clubs a lot, I would imagine.
Nothing's really, shows
what has changed?
The next couple months or
do you see some things like on the horizon, like cruise ships or anything that you got kind of planned, or
getting ship offers, but not really jumping on it right now. I don't want to be back out.
Being in the Petri dish out there,
not great, but give it a few months and maybe. But doing colleges, doing whatever, just hanging out.
So where are you living? In Vegas or
in Vegas? Yeah, okay. But bouncing around. I'll hide out in Chicago.
I knew because you were in Dallas with Randy for a long time.
Yep. Yeah, it's right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then,
now, that was a funny story because you and Rudy were over there for the Peacock Theater. It's like, we're locked down, you can't fly. It's like, well, Randy's got room.
Hang out for 9 months? Yeah.
For 9 months you lived there?
9 months. That's a good story.
Yeah, good story. Maybe not for his wife. But anyhow, Nick, thanks very much. Always good seeing you, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Likewise.
We'll be seeing you. So the Magic Word Podcast. That was Nick DeFat. Scotty out. With Don Weiberg, who's been coming to the MagiFest for how many years?
We started coming here when our kids were like 7 and 8 years old, so it's
So about 40 years?
More than 40, probably 50-ish.
Okay.
Yeah,
Boy, I
the
forgot.
first-
That
first time was at the
Kirsten and
Pickford
Craig are
Hayes
getting old.
Hotel. Right. Pickford Hayes Hotel, which is probably now a parking lot.
Uh-huh.
But we haven't been here coming consecutively. There's been some interruptions, but we got a pretty good streak going.
Yeah. I didn't properly introduce you as saying, of course, this is Don Weiberg, who's past international president of the International Brotherhood of Magicians. And so I don't see a lot of other people here necessarily who, it used to be we would have a lot of people from the IBM and the SAM. Of course, we just finished the SAM convention, so they probably, due to COVID, well, of course, the IBM is having their mid-year meeting, I guess, right now.
Right.
So some of the past presidents are probably at that meeting.
Yeah, both of them.
Both. So, anyhow, what have you? We're nearing the end. We got a couple more activities. What has been a highlight for you at this year's event?
The Jackie Yu lecture I thought was good because he didn't overdo card tricks, which is fine. I'm trying to. I enjoyed the gambling lecture because that was something different.
It's funny. You tagged the very first thing and the very last thing so far because Jason England was the first off. Yeah,
that's true, and just the general camaraderie, and it's very reassuring to see so many young magicians, even though they're not joiners of clubs. The fact someday when they get older, they will be joining the IBM, the SAM, but as you look around, why there's a great deal of interest. So magic, I would say. Right now, the interest in magic is probably at an all-time high.
But when you talk about that being at an all-time high, a lot of that has to do with social media and online, and so it's not necessarily at an online or an all-time high of joining physically and attending conventions.
Correct.
Or clubs, for that matter.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I often said, well, it's evident. You look at the numbers of young members of the IBM. There's not a lot, and I'm sure it's the same thing with the SAM. So the effort with SYM, which is the youth
side of young magicians,
and then the Lance Burton, Jeff McBride workshops that they have, that's all going to pay off somewhere down the road. So I think it's keeping a lot of young people interested, both young men and young women. So that's very good.
Now I missed the workshop yesterday, I guess, or the sessions they had with Rachel Wax and Bernardo Sedlicek in the afternoon. How was that? And then also Pete McCabe spoke.
I did not go to that one. I went to Bernardo's. I'm always amused with him having a Czechoslovakian last name coming from Argentina or
Brazil.
He had one card trick that appealed to me, and the other stuff is very good. Some of it was a little long and drawn out. I think from a commercial perspective, great for magicians, but I don't know that you'd be entertaining people in a real world situation with so many. I mean, the tricks were so involved and.
The stuff that Bernardo was teaching, you're talking about, particularly.
Yeah. Okay. And after a while, I was sitting next to another old timer, and we both looked at each other and just kind of shook our heads. From a commercial entertaining standpoint, in our view, they left something lacking, but technically outstanding magic. No question.
Well, also, Jason Landani taught a lot of great stuff, but it's not something, technically that I'm going to do. I enjoyed his lecture. Personally, I like his, conceited, self-conceit style. I think it's funny. I did enjoy Darwin Ortiz and the one-on-one they had today, too.
Yeah, the session, well, they honored him last night. I had a very difficult time hearing him. I could hear Andy and Josh. And
he wasn't mic'd very high or something.
He should have done something about that, but, after the fact, not much you can do.
Yeah.
And
anything as far as the dealers go that you bought? I mean, you've got more than enough magic stuff over your life. You're trying to get rid of stuff, too.
That's why I did buy a couple of decks of cards from the...
the one-way decks guy.
A Sven Galley deck. How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah.
Because I usually give them away when if I do show a young person the trick. And I'm a great fan of Marshall Brodeen, and having seen some of the Sven Galley workers going back, on fair dates and that. In fact, I resurrected a book that I bought from U.S. Toy in Kansas City on the pitchman routine, the whole pitch an act and how to set up the booth and the whole routine. Just to kind of trigger my mind a little bit. But other than that, I'm beyond. I'm a great maker of magic, as you well know. So anyway.
Well, good. Thank you very much. And by the way, for people who are listening to this, if you recognize his voice a little bit, it's a little bit muffled because he's wearing a mask then right now, as everyone is here. It's required. But by the hotel and the convention. But also, you can kind of go back in the podcast episodes and listen to a couple in which he talked about the magic shops that used to populate downtown Chicago, around Chicago, as well as the Chicago Roundtable. So I'd recommend you go back and take a listen to those. Looks like we're getting ready for our next episode over here, I think, with Apollo Robbins.
And that's going to be interesting because I know a little about him other than pickpocket.
You can pickpocket. Yep. Okay, so we'll enjoy that. So the Magic Word Podcast, that was Don Weiberg, Scotty out. MagiFest, you never know who you're going to run into. And here was the last person I really expected to run into, Carissa Hendrix, Lucy Darling. Hello.
Hi.
So you were unable to make it to the SAM convention. You were on and then were off. And so now that you're here and doing better, you're cured, you're fine. And
yes, I have natural immunity.
Natural immunity.
I'm so happy.
Down from Canada.
Canada.
But you're here because you're going to be tomorrow doing...
I'm going to shoot the masterclass for Vanishing Ink, and I'm so excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that is going to be a masterclass that will be available for anybody, obviously, to download. That's not something that people are signing up for to attend, or will this be...
No, it's one of the online masterclasses that Vanish has been putting together. They've come out so great, and I was so flattered when they asked me, especially because this is a really nice opportunity to take a lot of the things I've been lecturing about and expand on them, because I get 2 hour-and-a-half long sessions, and then we're going to do a live question and answer with the students. So I'm really excited. I've been working on it for about a month and a half, and then also, I flew in a couple days earlier to polish it up. But it's acting elements and some stuff from visual art that I'm bringing in, and just sort of a lot of my theories really distilled.
And your PowerPoint presentations and all the slides and things as well.
Well, my goal was to try to move away from some of the slides.
I think they would add a lot to it.
Do they? Okay, all right. Well, it's sort of that concept but expanded, and I've tried to, instead of doing slides, turn them into exercises people can do in their lives to sort of learn those skills, and we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited. It was.
And how long is the class? Is it like a 2-hour class or 3 hours? How long is typically the master class?
It works out to 3 hours total. It's 2 hour-and-a-half long sessions. You get one in the first week, one in the second week, and then in the third week there's an hour-and-a-half long Q&A. So you can come in and ask me questions. At the end of each one, there's going to be an assignment you can go home with. And exercises you can do to reinforce the skills. Because as much as I've really enjoyed doing my lecture, I really feel like I need to turn it into practical knowledge so that people can apply it to their work in a more clear way.
Even just a short snippet. There was a while back, you did a podcast with my friend John Gaspard about the Eli Marks thing. And you were just on there for a short time, but just gave some great wisdom. I remember that you were talking about in developing a character. I would recommend people go back and listen to that. It was just kind of a short master class, there then as well.
Yeah, I mean that's really what I'm passionate about, is the elements of magic that are... sort of in a way more esoteric. It's so funny to me that in magic we talk about the kind of stuff I talk about as theory. We have tricks and then we have theory. But really, I've worked really hard to make this very practical. So it's practical theory. It's the idea of taking these theoretical ideas of how to improve your act and turning them into exercises and really concrete examples of things that will improve what you do, because I really think we're hitting this generation of magicians where they know that they're good and they're one step away from greatness, and my goal is to get them from good to great.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think we all know enough tricks. It's a matter of trying to identify, do the tricks better and actually have a presentation. But number one, know who you are, so then you can build your act around who that person is, just as you've done with Lucy Darling, in which she would act this way. But need to know who you are before you need to know how you act.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially coming out of 2 years of a pandemic, we are living in a lonely culture. We're living in a hopeless culture. So I think working on trying to find ways to make your act more clear and more artistic and a greater sense of self and a greater sense of identity, and for people to go home feeling like they've made a new friend on that stage. I think we're moving into an era of entertainment where that's the kind of stuff that's going to really move people.
I just think over the last couple of years there has been nobody else on the planet, particularly in the magic community or entertainment in general, who's crushed it the way that you have and have been just reinventing yourself almost immediately. You put tens of thousands of dollars into your Zoom studio, and you gave a lecture early on about creating, and here's the backlights, and I mean, not without having any kind of a back training in radio and television and movies and everything, but you studied all that and learned all that, and then developed the character, and then did some tremendous Zoom shows, and then won the Alan Slade Award then as well, and then William Morris picked you up, and I mean, I just remember me, I knew you win.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm so grateful. I mean, William Morris signed me because of the online show. So people have been talking to me here a lot about how, right before the pandemic, I had this whole year of shows booked and everything was going to turn out so great for me, and then the pandemic came and I lost everything. But the truth is that I lost one set of things and I gained another set of things. And the things I gained are of greater value to me than the things I lost.
That's a great way of looking at things, and also not looking back, but also looking forward. Say, okay, well, you can't cry over spilled milk, quite literally. I mean, that was it. That's been broken and gone, and I'm moving on, or I have to make something better of this. So
Exactly.
And you have.
Yeah,
So,
it's been good. I feel very fortunate.
Well, yeah, you are on, a great ride for the rest of your life then right now. Congratulations, good luck, and always,
Thank you.
Carissa, great seeing you then
Yeah,
as well.
always nice to see you. It's nice. These podcasts have become like an archive, like a time capsule of where I was, because you seem to see me every 6 months. So it's
That's
perfect.
right. We run into each other at these conventions. Yeah, I think that's very true. I hadn't thought about that. Each time we have a little bit of snippet about that.
Yeah.
So, there you go. That was COVID Carissa. I'm sorry.
I've recovered.
And she's much better than now. This is Scotty. Thank you. So the evening show is over, and one of the people who was the opening act and was a star who had Fool Penn and Teller is here with me right now, Amanda Nepo. Hey there, Amanda.
Hello.
And so this was a phenomenal show we did this evening, and what better way to open it with what you did, because you'd fooled Penn and Teller, and you fooled, I think, everybody else in the audience, and so you got the first standing ovation of the evening. It was phenomenal, and you fooled me too. I was thinking, no, you had the first. It was amazing. It was good.
Thank you.
So, and what you were saying, I believe, is whenever that you had fooled them, you were at the end completely astonished. You didn't think necessarily you were going to fool them. You weren't quite sure because you'd been sitting there talking with Allison for 10 minutes. Or go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Go ahead and say what you were talking about.
Oh, I wasn't sure if I was going to fool them or not. The whole goal of it really was just put on a good performance, and I just wanted to impress them. Because obviously you never know if you're going to fool them, and fooling is like a great cherry on top. It's very nice, but honestly, being there, you've already won. In preparations for it, you have like some Zoom calls. So I had one with Michael Close, and I talked to him about my act and all, and he said, I'm not sure if this is going to fool them, but they're going to really like it. They're going to be impressed. So I was just kind of under that impression of like, I don't care whether I fool them or not. I want to put on a good show. I want them to be impressed,
So he didn't give you any tips or anything saying, hey, you might tweak it this way or that, or when he said you may not fool them, so...
Oh, well, he gave some tips and all, and, small tweaks. Most of my act was really not changed much. He wasn't saying that as oh, this is not good. He was because nobody really, again, although Foolish is framed as you're trying to fool them and it's that sort of thing, again, it's really just to showcase magicians.
Right.
So everyone's goal is just to, or I believe most people's goal is really just to, again, put on a good show.
And what season was that? How long ago was that you were on?
This recent season.
Okay. This year, 21.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one last question over here. In getting into that, did you submit this blindly, or someone said, hey, I saw Amanda, you need to be on, and they told them, or how did you actually apply or get on the show?
Well, someone told... I know Connie Boyd, and she told me that I should apply, and I have been thinking about it for a bit, so I made an act, submitted the video, and
there you go. Rest is history. Do you work at a restaurant or someplace regularly and performing, and if so, where?
I don't work anywhere regularly at the moment.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York.
Okay.
New York, yeah. Yeah, I mean, right now I've been developing more of my material. I post a lot on my Instagram. Am I allowed to say it here?
Tell me what it is.
It's amandanepo.magic.
That's Nepo.
Yes. I haven't posted there in a while, but I've been working on stuff to do there. That's kind of where I test out my stuff before I start performing it and all. Actually, the same with this Foolish Act. It originally was a much shorter video, of course, that I posted on Instagram a while back, but yeah.
Great, Amanda. Congratulations again for helping to make this an outstanding show this evening. Loved watching it. Fooled the heck out of me, and everybody else I've been talking to this evening said she was amazing. So congratulations, and for fooling Penn and Teller. So when are you going to be going back to be in Vegas, by the way, on their show? Have they told you that, or is that in the future because of lockdown and everything? Or?
I don't know yet. So yeah, that's unknown to me as well.
Unknown, okay. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Amanda Nepo. This is Scotty out. So the Magic Fest 2020 is over, and I'm just going to do a quick recap of what happened then afterwards. Since we last talked, we had Apollo Robbins, who gave a great talk, and he was talking about pickpocketing and kind of what he was doing and how his career was going along and how he had branched off into something completely different that is quite fulfilling for him now, and moved to Virginia. But he also was teaching a watch steal and a coin on shoulder and some other really cool stuff, and showed some videos, and it was very entertaining and completely different direction of things that we've had shown here in the past. And then Jackie Yu, who has been on Penn and Teller Foolish, performed and gave a lecture. Then we went to dinner, and then came back for a show, actually a two-show. And I got with me, helping me to remember what hell happened the last hour. It was just, boy, overload, it seemed like, is Mike Thornton. Hey there, Mike.
Hey, it was a wonderful show this evening here.
Wasn't it?
Opening up with Niles Dunker, who's a fantastic juggler. I've seen him do his 15-minute segment in the past, but to see him do a whole hour
Full show, yeah.
was great, and threw in a little history of juggling and made it a real nice, cohesive package. It was a great show.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we had 15 minutes to get a quick drink and sit back down for that awesome Foolish show tonight.
That was an interesting way of trying to finish that. I really thought Andy Gladden was going to do it, since he had fooled Penn and Teller also, you know.
Yeah,
But,
and I saw his bit, and I certainly expected him to be on the show, but everyone on was great. And
the MC was...
Rachel Wax was wonderful. She's a young lady I had not seen prior to this convention, and I like her style. She's very funny, and she did a nice job keeping it going throughout the whole evening here. And the star of the show for me was Stuart Mcdonald.
He was going to close, yeah.
Oh, yeah, his act, which I've seen a number of times, it keeps getting better. You can just see it each time. So I think I have high hopes for FISM next year.
I have a feeling that he's going to score very high with the judges. He continues to hone that act, and I thought it was interesting whenever they brought him out, of saying how he had practiced that. I think he had recorded himself all the way through like 92 times within 30 days leading up to that.
Yeah, that's just the kind of pro he is, and a great act. And also I loved Ben Seidman. He was fantastic. He was fantastic. I had seen him do that bit on Fool Us, and to see it live.
Well, it was kind of live. I mean, it was live, but he had to do it from home apparently. But the same way he did it with Penn and Teller. But he could have done that live here. It's just he had some other obligations. I like that one. He said, "Well, I was just sharing a smoothie with Paul Gerner and with David Gerard," and which of course are the two guys who couldn't come because they had COVID. But he was making a joke. But he was very much in the moment. Very funny guy, and so he did a live Zoom kind of a thing with a volunteer.
Yeah, I like his style.
Yeah, I do too.
And just the whole show was fantastic. It was a fast hour and exciting, and ended on a great note.
All the people who were in the show were those who had actually fooled Penn and Teller. Jackie Yu was another one that was in there, and the First Lady Amanda Nepo, who did a card trick, and then it changed to just a printed cards, and it fooled me also. And she, I think, got the first standing ovation. It just was great.
Yeah, I have no clue how she did it.
No, fooled me completely.
Yeah. No, that was great.
After Amanda Nepo, then we had
Garrett Thomas, who was perfect for this. And I had never seen his stand-up bit before at all on Fool Us or otherwise, and very impressive.
Yeah, so he did his Rubik's Cube and his ring on finger, and as he had done this with Teller, he had borrowed a person from the audience as if they were Teller, and you put this ring on that person's finger, and they can feel it moving through their finger.
so visual. I have no clue how he did it. No,
Yeah.
it fooled me again.
It was very good. Each of them were foolers, and it was a great way to wrap up the convention. Everything I thought pretty much, Mike, what about you? I thought was just tip-top. I mean, there wasn't really a weak act this whole convention.
No, very strong lineup throughout the entire week. Great lectures. I like what they're doing with the show and then the lecture right after, and great shows in the evening. So, no, another top convention here.
And the workshops are pretty good. And I say workshops because that was actually part of the university thing, and you got a diploma. We all got diplomas.
Yes, I do have my MagiFest University diploma here.
What does it say?
It says it says that I've completed the rigorous coursework required to attain the highest level of mastery in the craft of magic. So, Andy and
Joshua was the director, or what is it, Dean of Deception, and Andy is the Headmaster of Mystery. There we go. And so everybody got a really nice frameable certificate of completion of the MagiFest University for 2020 here in Columbus. So anyhow, all in all, good convention. Mike, good seeing you here again this year.
Good seeing you again, and hey, keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And everybody, be sure to go to the website and register for next year. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be another great time. So until later, this is Scotty out.